It worked the first time, Coach David. We heard it.
Good. Welcome, everybody. We are recording this, and we have about 30 people on live. So, with that in mind, let me go to our slides, which are pretty much set up right there. We go. And tonight, thank you all for coming today to check this whole thing out. I always love this. If you have a body, you are a marathon, you are an athlete. A lot of people can't say, I am an athlete, even though you're a marathoner. It seems like it would be obvious. That's me in my book. All right. Um, the first three topics really are kind of the same thing. 100 minutes till death. Um, Picking the group the appropriate group for you to train with, and how different things can affect that from week to week. And then also changing groups during a taper week. Those all kind of go hand in hand. But the other thing I wanted to talk about tonight as well, I just kind of threw in just a few minutes ago, was the idea of what do you do in the rain? What do you do when it's pouring down rain? And will we be there Saturday if it's pouring down rain? Will we be there Sunday if it's pouring down rain? By the way, don't forget the Balboa group will be going to Griffith Park this Sunday. Instead of being in Balboa Park, we're going to Griffith Park. We're doing hills. The good news about the rain is the hills run the water right off really quick, so it's not muddy up there. I've run those hills in rain and you name it. And the hills in Griffith Park really aren't muddy. It's way underneath the tunnels where it gets really a lot of water buildup, and we can easily avoid those. So, um, on with it. Let's talk about 100 minutes till death. What the heck does that mean? First, a little refresher on all of this stuff. As you recall, glycogen is one of the two resources for fuel, for ATP. That's the fuel our body uses. And basically, you have about 80 to 90 minutes of that before you hit the wall. If you're going a little bit too fast, let me just really quickly show you. Um, so aerobic is where basically your training is, where your marathon race pace is. A little above that, the high end of that would be lactate threshold and half marathon race pace. Now, if you hit kind of the high end of lactate threshold, so you're going a little faster than marathon race pace, that's the window where you have that 80 to 90 minutes before you hit the wall, before you crash, you burn, whatever you want to call it, um, before you die. You don't really die. You're walking. That's the only difference. You're not feeling bad. You just run out of energy. You're just walking. And then you can walk it out because your heart rate is then lower. You go back into an aerobic state where your heart rate is lower and you're really consuming more fat as a resource for fuel instead of carbohydrate. But at that slightly elevated heart rate, right? As you're looking at this, just as it's starting to go up a little bit more, you're at 130, 138 for this individual. Everybody is so different. You could. I've seen people who are at 150 and they're still at easy pace. It really depends on the individual, the size of their heart, the size of their person, all those things, their training, all those things are where your heart becomes a huge variable in terms of beats per minute. But, and where you are on this threshold scale, but just to give you kind of a visual, that it takes a couple minutes for your heart rate to get up a little bit, and that's why I say it takes about 100 minutes before you really, if you're with your training group, and your training group, this is how it feeds into the training, picking a training group. If your training group is a little too fast for you, this is where I find people hitting the wall after 100 minutes. They're not feeling bad. They're feeling pretty good. It's just suddenly they can't run anymore and they don't understand why. And this is what's happening. They've hit the wall. They've gone a little too fast for a little too long. Like that 100 minutes is really, really a good benchmark. If you're feeling good at 100 minutes into your run, walk, or walk, this is for everybody now. We all have the same physiology run, walk, or walk. Um, After about 100 minutes, if you're feeling good, you're in the right group. That's a great way to pick a group, is right now, this is kind of the litmus test. And let me go to the next slide and then finish that thought in just a second. And these are all the different thresholds, different levels as your heart rate's going up and up and up. You'll note this baseline right here where this person is not under much stress at all down here. It's not until around here where the stress levels really begin to go up and up and up. Just as a refresher, what we discussed previously. And of course, this is a beginner same thing, but for a beginner, and immediately their level of stress is immediately going up. There's no baseline like this one, right? None. They're immediately going more and more stress, as you can see there. So, and there's the comparison. Enough of that. Oh, wait, went a little step too far. Um, so right now, it's a really good litmus test as to are you in the right group? You know, at 100 minutes, take a physical, mental assessment. Do I feel good? You know, am I able to continue on, or am I beginning to feel at the end of these runs like, oh my God, thank God it's over. I don't think I could have run another step. I really pushed myself. That's not easy pace. That then your heart rate is going up and up and up and up on all of these. Um, your heart rate's going higher and higher. You get to a point where you are no longer within that easy pace range, that aerobic. Aerobic is easy. You just swap out the word one for the other, right? You're no longer in that easy base range where you're really building endurance. That term endurance means a lot of different things. But if you're not in that aerobic zone, for this person, it's 114 beats per minute to 128 beats per minute. And for this person, it changes, right? You know, with training, with time, it changes higher or lower depending on training. At any rate, um, so make a mental assessment as you hit 100 minutes and even at the end of the run. Are you still in your easy zone where you're building endurance? Because for those easy runs, like we do on our weekends, even when we jump up a little bit into marathon race pace during our Saturday or Sunday efforts, walk, or walk, um, still it's it needs to feel pretty comfortable. It's not like there's a magic pill that you're going to take that suddenly marathon race day, when you're going marathon race pace, suddenly you're going to feel comfortable when at the end of your easy pace, you didn't feel comfortable. Marathon race pace, you're not going to finish with your group. You need to go to a slower group to build more endurance and not waste your time by your heart rate going too high above that aerobic zone. With dehydration and fatigue, your heart rate goes up and up and up and up and up. And you don't want to waste your time going with your heart rate too high and out of that aerobic zone. You will get out of that aerobic zone even at the same pace during your marathon simply because of dehydration and fatigue. You know, your heart rate will continue to go up just a plane, just like this, just a little higher, a little higher, a little higher. That's what your heart rate will look like on race day. Although this was not taken on a race day, it was taken on a treadmill or a test for lactic acid output. That's another story. So, um, also during a taper week, we are right now in a taper week. This is a great week to pick to test the waters of a faster group. Any week is the week to go slower to a slower group. And the other thing is there are times when your heart rate is going to be elevated simply because you didn't get any sleep, you're fatigued, so your heart rate will be higher because your body's working harder to do the same things. If you're getting over a cold, your lungs may be a little more closed up, even though you're not congested anymore. But that's going to make your heart rate higher. If your heart rate is higher, again, you want to stay in that aerobic zone. You may want to go to a slower group that week if you're getting over a cold or you didn't get a lot of sleep. If you're under a lot of stress lately, I've had a lot of people like this. Gee, I couldn't keep up with my group this week. I don't know what happened. Were you under a lot of stress? Yeah, this is a really stressful week. Did you get a lot of sleep? Yeah, I slept great, but I had a lot of stress. That'll raise your heart rate right there. Um, so more reason to go with a slower group every so often to maintain that aerobic zone during your easy-paced runs, even midweek. Yes, your speed workout midweek will raise the bar being any one of these, the blue, the yellow, the orange, the red. It'll shove your aerobic zone higher, right? Your lactate threshold higher, your anaerobic threshold higher, so you'll be more efficient from those speed workouts, but they won't give you the physiological changes, which we've discussed in the past, that you benefit from what we call endurance from that aerobic zone training. So don't try and push it. So many people get this idea that I'm going to push it. I'm going to beat myself up. I'm going to motivate myself, damn it, every week. I'm going to stay up with that group and then go to a faster group. Nope, doesn't work. You're not getting the endurance about 3/4 of the way. There are other reasons this would happen, but about 3/4 of the way through your marathon, you may hit the wall or burn out simply because you don't have that endurance from enough low heart rate training. Most people, there's an epidemic of most people train, hopefully outside of our groups, but most people, because I know I keep harping on this until people are blue in the face and like, no more, please, dear God, no more of this. This endurance crud discussion. But most people train too fast. They're out of that aerobic zone for too long. They're wasting their time. They're not building appropriate endurance. They're in their maybe lactate threshold area where you're now building up waste product. At any rate, regardless, enough of that. You've had enough. I hear you. Now, let's get on to the next and last topic. We're doing really good on time this week. It's a short one. Garbage bags, a cheap and simple way to make a raincoat poncho. That's a really fuzzy picture that I actually blew up from a tiny, tiny little picture. That's why it's blurred. But um, cut a little. Now this person here did a really good job. She has like a neckline here, and really all you need to do, you take garbage bag, turn it upside down, cut a slit. The bag is like this, the bottom of the bag is here. You just cut a slit in the middle of the bottom of the bag, put it over the slit over your head. Obviously, the slit needs to be big enough for your head, but not too much bigger because you don't want it all the way to your shoulders or you'll get wet right there. Um, if you want, you could cut a slit right where her shoulder is and put your arm through it, but then your arm will get soaked, or just drape the whole thing over you like a poncho normally does, and it'll cover your arms and shoulders. Um, before a race, during a race, starting of a race, to stay warm in the corral if it's going to be in the 50s or something. The nice thing about Our Rose Bowl is where in the locker rooms, it's carpeted, it's lit, it's heated, it's enclosed, it's underneath the stadium. We have that perk as part of being an LA Roadrunner for those members who are. Um, and during the before the marathon, we are in the loge area. There's a roof, there's a wall, but of course, the other wall is open to the bleachers in the stadium below. I do refer to that as the worst baseball game I've ever seen in my life because let's face it, it's early in the morning and there are no players on the field, so it's a little creepy. But it's a really not, it's a hallway of the stadium, and we're in there. So even if it's pouring rain, we remain a little warmer and dry, certainly. And we have our own bathrooms in there, which is really a nice perk. But when you go out to the starting line, if it's raining, wear a garbage bag, something that suddenly it stops raining, becomes 90 degrees. You don't want to be wearing a plastic bag over your shoulders and your neck. Just tear it. It's only worth a garbage bag. The only thing, throw it on the side of the road. Don't leave it in the middle of the road, even in the middle of the corral, because you don't want people to trip over it or slip on it or whatever. See if you can't hand it to someone and say, please throw it to the side. Or if you're by the side, do that yourself, the side of the road, in the corral before you start. Or just run over toward the side of the road. The street sweepers sweep them up and drop it in the gutter if you're in the race, so no one will trip out in the middle of the race. But you can always tear it off. Um, be careful. Good news, you can make a belt out of a piece of tape that you kind of tape around you so you lose a lot of heat below. Although, heat rises anyway, so you don't lose a lot of heat from below this poncho. But be very careful and forewarned, do not use like a thick, heavy duct tape because trying to tear the tape, if you tape it around you like a belt, you'll go through hell to get this thing off of you. If you really do want to make a belt out of tape, use paper tape that's easily tearable. You can easily tear off and then just pull the thing off your head and throw it to the side. Be careful when you're running or run walking or walking. If this thing's over your head and you're moving forward, not to trip on something. But a great way to create a poncho. If you haven't gotten the store to buy one, there's no need whatsoever. Grab a garbage bag, or even like the kind of clothes bag that I've used from, the when you get your a dry cleaning, they come with these plastic clear bags. That's a great thing to use because it already has a little slit for the hanger anyway. You can expand that open a little more for your head. And everybody can see your bib number, so you don't have to raise it up and show your bib number to get in the corral. Um, Use two of those clear plastic bags, you're good. Um, anyway, I saw a hand go up. That is about it. Oh, I have one other thing, and that's the quote for the day. And the quote from the day comes from a former LA Roadrunner head coach. Um, and the quote is along the lines of what I was saying earlier and what group to go into or how to train. Make sure you're in that aerobic zone to build endurance. And Rod Dixon, you can find videos of him on YouTube winning races and things. Race your races and train your training, but do not race your training. Rod Dixon, winner of the New York Marathon 1983 with a time of 2:08:59. Back then, that was really, really fast, almost world record time. He won in the Olympics the bronze medal in the 1500 meters, which, think about it, marathon and 1500 meters, that's a pretty extraordinary range of ability. His real race was like the 5K. He became one of the top 5K runners in the world. The 72 Olympics, that was Munich. And there's a famous picture of him with his arms up in the air. He has just crossed the finish line, which you could see behind him. And the guy who is leading the race on the ground here, almost the entire race until the last few miles, when he started slowing down because he went out too fast and he started burning out, and Rod ran past him. And this guy who came in second, who was first place almost the entire race, um, crossed the finish line, planted himself on the ground, just collapsed. And Rod had no idea that this guy was even behind him on the ground, or he would have had a different reaction. I'm sure. I've heard him talk about it. He had no idea. And he said, was the toughest race he had ever done in his entire life. And this moment, he actually went down on his knees there's a picture later on of him on his knees at the finish line. And he won the New York Marathon. I have often thought that if I was winning any marathon, I would feel I was lost because no one was in front of me. Where did they all go? But Rod actually had the experience of winning a race. I often thought it would be great for everybody to have that experience of winning a race. And someday I will tell you my odd experience of not really winning a race, but having that experience, even though I didn't win the race. That's another story for the future. And with that, I thank you all. Oh, train smart and train to win, because if you don't, you won't. And if you do, you just might. And I thank you all. We'll see you all at the finish line. And don't forget, looks like the Rose Bowl half is going to sell out the end of this month of November, another 2.5 weeks or so. So if you're not in the Rose Bowl half and you want to, sign up quick. I thank you all very much. And whoops. I don't know, that slide got in there. Anyway, there we go. Does anyone have a question regarding what I just went through? Even how to create a garbage bag, wind poncho, or whatever. They're great to keep in heat, even if it's not raining on a cold morning, race morning, or whatever. Um, Before I turn off the recording, any questions via chat or just swipe your cursor across the screen? And David, I see you have a question.
Yes. How often do you have to flash your poncho?
Let me check the chat. Here we go. Uh, oh, Paul said, "Hi, David. Looking forward." Whoops. Wait a minute. Wait. Here we go. Looking forward to train to the rain for the next 5 weeks, 5 days. Yeah, I know. It looks like it's going to be quite the rain. Paul, thank you. I know. Stay warm in the rain. Doesn't matter if you get wet. Let's face it, we all take showers, we all swim. Doesn't matter if you get wet. It's just you need to stay warm. If you find yourself shivering, jump in your car, turn on the heat, go home. The best way to heat up your body, if you're shivering, your body is cold. Best way to heat up your body is to jump in warm water. Just jump in the shower. That's probably the best way to warm your body up quickly. Water, because, what is it? 60 something percent of our body is all liquid. So, water warm water seems to warm our body temperature up the quickest. And also cold water cools our body off the quickest as well if you're in a real hot day. That's another story. Uh, Gwen, hello. Angela, hi, coach. Will there be another opportunity to go to, the warehouse? Oh, I already answered that earlier. David, 90% chance of rain Saturday in Santa Monica, flood advisory. Bring your poncho. I agree. Yeah. And thank you for writing down that code for the 10% off AMD dash, well, Monique 2026. But thank you. Is sauna recommended? Yeah, I saw like a spa, like a water spa, like a jacuzzi is a brand name, but a spa would be better than maybe even a dry heat sauna. Although, yes, a dry heat sauna would definitely work great as well. So go to your local gym, jump in, warm yourself up. There you go. Um, Paul, I like a poncho with a hood. That helps to stay dry and warm. Yeah, I totally agree. Um, you can probably take another garbage bag and kind of make a hood and then wrap the garbage bag behind the poncho that you cut the slit in for a hood, if that sort of kind of works. Or really, what I do is I just wear a hat. So, because I hate sprinkles of water hitting me on the head. You know what I'm saying? I will definitely Saturday be wearing a real raincoat, but because I'm not running, but also be wearing a hat. And a hood is great to keep your head and neck even warmer. But if I was running, I'd just wear a hat, a running hat, just to keep the drops of water from feeling like they're beating on my head. Um, Anyway, wanted to introduce myself. Nicole, hi. This will be my first marathon. Excellent. I just joined Roadrunners this week. I'll be there Saturday AM training. Excellent. Nicole, introduce yourself when you get there Saturday. I will be there. My rule about weather is if there's, and I have proven this time and again, if there is someone there who wants to run, walk, or walk, I will be there to coach. So it's not a matter of the only reason we would be canceling would be if there was like 100-foot wave that was about to hit the cliff in Santa Monica and it was really, really dangerous. Rain, you never know what you're going to get on the LA Marathon day. If you want to stay in your warm home, I'm not going to drag you out of your home. But for those of you who want to come out and experience the rain, some of my favorite runs have been in the rain, where I stayed warm. I was wearing layers, wear a couple um, running t-shirts, that moisture wicking kind of thing to help insulate yourself. Wear a plastic bag or whatever on top of that, a hat. You can wear gloves and you can even wear leggings, tights, whatever, keep more heat in. All good stuff. And Nicole, I look forward to meeting you on Saturday. We meet at the end of Ocean Avenue, just north, a few feet north of San Vicente. You'll see our awning out there and a lot of people. We normally get about 250 people. I'm guessing we'll have at least 150 or so, even if it's pouring rain. We usually get even really bad. We've always had like 100 people. So come on out. Exciting. And we'll talk. And you might even want to send me an email. We'll figure out what group for you to go into. You may even want to get there a little earlier and we can talk and figure out what group for you to go into if you don't already know. Paul, if it warms up and stops raining while running, I take the poncho off and fold it up and save it because might rain again with high winds. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you can fold it up into a little tiny thing. And if it's going to rain again or get high winds, you use it again. Nicole, thank you. See you there. We'll see you there as well. With that, any other questions? I see a hand going up, except I think that was my hand that went up somehow. It was my hand. I don't know why. Uh, okay. Anyway, I do not know how to remove my hand. Anyway, the hand on the screen. Never mind. Anyway, not my hand. Anyway, with that, I'm going to turn off the recording. And I want to thank all of those who have been watching the recording. And for those of you who are on live, sit tight, stay put, and we'll answer more of your questions if you want. For those of you watching the recording, good night and thanks for watching. We'll see you very soon and definitely in the future at the finish line. Take care, everybody. Bye.